There's a form of abuse that's often overlooked, and that's the false accusations.
What she said wasn't untrue, it just lacked context. My guy, that is why there's a lawsuit against you. As a mother of a young boy, this is what terrifies me.
This rhetoric is the consequence of men continuously pushing the false narrative that a false accusation regularly ruins a person's life.
Today, we're going to take a look at some of the worst scammers, people who use false accusations, and we're going to look at the community of people that's supporting their actions. What it look like, TV?
I am back. What it do, baby?
YouTube's own Varnell Hill.
Did ya miss me?
Your very own spokesman for the Insidians, wear inside and we're comfortable.
They're so comfortable.
And I'm back with another one. And today, y'all, I got a doozy for y'all. We're going to get into some of the worst scammers that there are out there. People that use false accusations. Before we even get into this video is about people that use false accusation. This video is about the people that lied, not the people that told the truth. So let's not drag the people that's telling the truth into the video about the people that's lying. In this video, we're going to get into a couple of news coverages. We're going to get into a couple of personal testimonies. And we're going to check in with the fringe group that's out there that really don't see anything wrong with false accusations. So let's get this thing started with the first personal testimony.
So this is basically the story of why I had to take this mugshot, right? And this is like just feeding off of the story I told y'all about taking solo trips. So like I said, right after that solo trip, 3 weeks later, some shit like that, I was at the gym. And it was a Sunday. This guy who, you know guys you meet in the gym, you say nothing to him, you hide by, what's up? You don't even know fuck. They might ask you for a spot or whatever, you go help them. So this one white fella, about 6'2", you know, whatever, always give him spots, whatever. He asked me, hey man, your name is such and such. I was like, yeah, but we never exchanged names, so how the f you know that? And he asked to talk to me outside. So I said, okay, let's go outside, you know what I'm saying, shoot shit, whatever. I'm thinking he about to sell me a product or whatever, like protein powder or whatever. So he comes up to me, he say, man, listen, firstly, I want you to know I'm a cop. I was like, oh, okay, that's what's up, man, good job, you know, you doing your thing. He's like, yeah, but you also got a warrant for your arrest. I was like, huh? I mean, I'm not the nicest person in the world, but I'm not out here breaking the law. I mean, I might speed a little bit. I might have, you know, ran a red light here and there, but a warrant? What the f did I do? And like I said, this was in February. Come to find out, I had an active warrant pending since October of the previous year. So I had a warrant for 4 months. I could have got pulled over for a busted taillight and went straight in jail and not knowing what the f was going on. Because of course, if you have a warrant, if you get caught for any reason, you're going to jail. So like I said, it was a Sunday. He told me, hey man, listen, regardless of what happened, you know, get your affairs in order. Stay out of trouble, keep your nose clean. Holler at me on Friday, I'll walk you through the whole process. You just got to turn yourself in. I said, okay, bet. So I told my manager, the one who gave me the time off, I let him know, I let my old man know, I let a lot of people know what was going on. That Friday, mind you, I'm dreading this whole thing this entire week. Imagine knowing that you have to go to jail and you still working Monday through Friday. It's horrible. So he tells me to meet him at City Hall. I pull up at City Hall and drop my car off or park my car, whatever. Go through a little process, puts me in a holding cell for a couple hours. I got to sit in the back of the paddy wagon. The paddy wagon pulls up. I sit in the back of that shit with a couple other guys who actually have done f***ed up things to be in jail, and they transport us to the actual jail. Get there, go through the same process. Fingerprint. This is where the mugshot comes in. And the funny thing about the mugshot is you see how I'm kind of like half-ass smiling, right? I was in there for some obvious bullshit because they told me, hey man, you got a CDV second degree charge, which is in the middle of first and third. First is the worst, third being still f***ed up, but not as bad as 2 and 1. So he's told me all these things and blah, 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 blah. Mind you, this is late at night. I literally had to sit in that cell for 22 hours. It wasn't a cell. It was a big ass waiting area, right? I literally had to sit in there for 22 hours. First time finding out what a PR bond was or a bond court was, because later that night or the next day, the next morning, I should say, the judge came into this little room on a TV screen or whatever. They funneled as much of us into the room as possible. And they called my name first after it was all like, okay, this is what y'all here for. Da, 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 da. Called my name first. Now I want to paint the scene for you. Imagine being in a room the size of an average closet. I'm not even bullshitting. There's a TV screen with audio that you can hear, and the only person that you can see is the judge. But everybody who just so happens to be on the other side of that screen with the judge can see you. And the judge starts reading off all kind of bullshit like, you know, oh, you're being charged with this, you're being charged with that, da 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 da. And I can hear my punk ass ex-girlfriend lying on my name, fake crying, doing all this fucking stupid ass. to try to make it seem like, oh, I really did what she's accusing me of. Whole time, the only reason we weren't together is because she's mentally unstable, and I got tired of ducking the red flags, and I just wanted to be away from her. It's a shame that a guy can potentially lose his livelihood just because he doesn't want to be around a woman. This is why I will forever rally for there to be no judgment, no accusations that will be seen as true until evidence comes out, because motherfuckers will lie on you in a minute. And I talk about it so casually now because it's been so long. It's been almost 10 years. It's been 10 years. It's been 10 plus years at this point. And I talk about it so casually because I've already dealt with what I needed to deal with to get to this point in my life. But it's nothing more demoralizing. There's nothing more demoralizing in this world than being a man. Dehumanizing is probably a better word than being a man, being accused of something that's heinous and not being able to defend yourself. Because the minute, every time I tried to say something, that lady, Mr. Abdul, don't say anything, don't talk. I'm like, bitch, this lying on me. Couldn't say anything. So they set my bond at $30,000, which I only had to pay 10%. They gave me a court date of July, which was like 5 months from when I was actually in that motherfucker. And I talked to one of the cops that was there. She was like, well, if you can't bond out, you're gonna have to stay here. You're gonna have to stay here. We're gonna put you in actual jail, which was right in the other room from where I was. We're gonna put you in actual jail until you go to court to figure this thing out. And I was like, no, that right when she told me that, I snapped. I lost my mind. I've always been a big guy, so my stature is imposing. So motherfucker, that's a threat. Ain't got nothing to do with me. So she was like, you gotta calm down. You gotta calm down, and we're gonna call him in. And I'm like, man, no, this is bullshit. I ain't even did that shit. I ain't supposed to be here with these going crazy. And so one of the guys was like, hey man, listen, just calm down, bro. Just calm down. Just sit down, talk to me. Whatever. So I'm chit-chatting with the guy, just trying to calm down or whatever. You get a couple phone calls. I called my dad. I called my manager. I called my cousin. I called whoever I could, but my old man answered. And fast forward, he took the money to go get a bail bondsman. Bail bondsman got me out of jail. I had to pay my old man back, right? I had to pay the bail bondsman $3,000, $3,200, some shit like that. I had to get a lawyer, pay him $3,000. I had to go to anger management class that cost me a total of like $500 because I had to pay $25, $50 every single time I went. I had to do a jail tour holding another man's hand because they wanted to like bring you down because apparently everybody who was accused of something actually did it in the eyes of South Carolina. That shit. And all of the mental anguish and shit, this is really what, spearheaded me going bald because I was stressing all day. I was stressing so much. And this is, at the time it was kind of embarrassing, but now I was stressing so much that I could not sleep in the dark. Seriously, I had to sleep with a nightlight on. Oncoming traffic, high beam lights will my eyes because the stress was literally killing me. And fast forward, I'll be honest, I had a mistrust for women, period, for like a month. But I'm too logical. I'm too smart to allow the mistakes of one person to just put a mask over everybody that may be like that person, because not every woman was involved in the situation, just one chick. And this is why I tell guys, right? I made that list of things you should do, 5 things you should do if you ever find yourself in a situation like this. Don't never let red flags fly by your head, because you never know. That red flag could literally be the nail in the coffin of your life.
Much props to you, Brother Abdul. May life continue to get better and better for you. And thank you for sharing your message with everybody. Hopefully it keeps somebody safe and brings awareness to everybody. Appreciate you.
Yeah. And she wasn't just accusing you of things, she's accusing a lot of other people of other stuff as well. But for you, you're 18 years old, you've done nothing to this woman, and suddenly you're faced with multiple charges. What are you thinking?
I was disgusted. I didn't know what was going on. I just felt horrified. I was scared. I didn't know. And then when I found out I was being sent to prison, I said to my mum, I'm not going to be coming out alive because I don't want to go to prison even if I did do something. So why do I want to go if I'm not doing something wrong?
You were put on the of Preston prison.
Yeah.
And you had to share a room with a...
Yeah, and he told me he pleaded guilty to that offence.
What was the offence?
He sent pictures to an 8-year-old kid.
What did you feel about having to share a cell with someone like that?
I felt sick, physically sick.
And you were there because the police had concluded that you must be guilty of similar behaviour?
Yeah, and I applied for bail numerous times. My legal team applied for bail I think 4 times, and I was denied it every single time. And then I just got woke up one morning by the prison staff, and they said, you're in court. And I was confused because I didn't have any notice beforehand. And that's when I went to court and I got out on bail, but I wasn't allowed to go back to my hometown. I had to sign on the police station every 2 days.
And people in your hometown thought you were...
Yeah, I was named in the paper.
What did they do?
I had spray painted on my house, I had my windows smashed, My mum had to move out of her house because of it all.
And you spent 10 weeks in prison yourself.
Yeah.
So all this is going on, and you're completely innocent.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, everybody knows you. You're on the front page of the paper. You've been named. Your family's name has been completely decimated by this. But your accuser, who's made it all up, she remained anonymous.
Yeah, and this is one thing what really confuses me. Why did I get named? But when she was remanded into prison, there was never an article put, she was charged with this, that and the other. Well, there was, but there was no name given. It was just a female. And that's one thing I question a lot.
Did you know that phone records made available to the court show that the women who falsely accused Benjamin Mendy of rape Googled his net worth before accusing him of rape? Evidence made available in court also showed that the women who claimed they were raped belonged to a feminist WhatsApp group.
I was falsely accused of sexual assault, thrown in prison, bailed out on $250,000 bail with no criminal record. I hired a private detective. We learned that this person had done it many times in other states. They drugged me in the bar on camera, multiple eyewitnesses.
Did the person in question go prison after?
They had zero interest in prosecuting a girl who made the story up, never showed up to court again. I had to fight for 11 months, and then when I was able to prove it with video evidence, they just dismissed me.
There are so many girls that do go through that, and to falsely accuse someone that they didn't do it, and then nothing happens to them. I think that's ridiculous.
Well, the problem is the women that do the false accusing, they really hurt the girls that really were hurt. I'm not going to let one evil person, when there's 100 great people and one bad person, I'm not going to let that person ruin my outlook on life. Yeah, are you going to be a little more cautious? I used to consider myself street smart until that happened. I just enjoy life more now with a little bit of caution.
But what would be your advice to maybe a young men out there?
If a girl's throwing herself at you too much, you might be feeling yourself. It might make you a little bit confident, but just be wary. Not all girls are sweet, and some of them have bad agendas.
Story time from my past. My best friend falsely accused a boy of essay. The reason why I'm bringing this up now is because I just had an interaction with this person. I'll get into that in the end, and also this is the first time I witnessed a guy going through false accusations, and the fact that I'm able to say first time is pretty sad, but let's get into it. So this happened when we were all sophomores in high school, so 16, I'm 22 now, and I had a best friend who I was so inseparable with that people would get our names mixed up. She was friends with a guy named Jay who I didn't like because he was unnecessarily rude to me and would just bully me for no apparent reason. No grudge, I'm sure he's matured now. But one day after school he came up to us, looked at my best friend and said, "Do you want to go to the back?" which essentially meant, "Do you want to go do something?" She said yes. He asked me if I wanted to come and I said absolutely not, and I went home. That was the last I saw of them of the day. Later on, I get a text from my best friend saying that they did this, this, and this, like listing it out. Consensual finger stuff. So I'm like, oh my god, I react, I respond, and she doesn't answer for a good 3 hours, so I just assumed I wouldn't hear from her anymore and I went to sleep. Next morning, I wake up to a message from her that she had sent me in the middle of the night saying that she was embarrassed of it, and that if he told anyone about it, she would say that it was... So I spam back and I'm like, absolutely do not, but this is the next day by now and the messages just don't go through. So I'm like, oh my god, and I just go to school. My best friend is nowhere to be found, but I get called to the office and there's 6 cops in there and I'm like, what's going on? They directly asked me what happened between my best friend and Jay to give them any details I could about that day. So I told them the bit of information I had up until I left. I showed them the messages of exactly what she had said happened and how she said that she was going to say that it was if anybody asked. And they're like, well, she had told us everything happened at a completely different location, that you were there and that you could corroborate her story. And I'm like, what do I look like? I'm not going to join in on a scheme to get someone falsely accused of, even if I don't like them. And she was forced to admit that she lied. Jay had been arrested at this point, and he was able to come back to school. Next day he was at school. She didn't come back to school until the end of the year for finals, but nothing happened to her. She got no consequences. So you know how I had mentioned that we had an interaction? So she found one of my accounts and she DM'd me, asking me how I'm doing. She's done this multiple times over the years because she still wants to be my friend. I've refused to talk to her since then, but this time I was like, I'm just going to ask her straight up, do you regret what you did when you were 16? And she laughed about it. She straight up said, I do crazy things sometimes, and then laughed about it. Signed a bunch of laughing emojis. The fact that she said, I do crazy things sometimes, leads me to believe that she's done deplorable things like this to other people, and that's scary. Also, side note, I looked at her page and she's married now. Got married to some dude that she didn't know for very long. I am scared for him.
You notice how carefree her girlfriend attitude was? Like it really didn't matter because it wasn't her? Like the damage wasn't actually real because she wasn't the one being affected? Feel sorry for her husband, man. I wish he was around earlier before he married her so he could see this next clip for himself, because I know she told him.
If your woman ever tells you anything horrible that she did to another man, don't think that she's confessing to you. She's warning you about what she will probably do to you in the future. My ex-wife once told me that she made a false allegation of abuse when she was in the Navy. She told me that when she was in the Philippines, that she was assaulted, SA, by a group of Filipino men, but she decided that she was going to blame someone in the Navy. She did this so that she could collect benefits from the Navy. I thought she was telling me this because she wanted to be open and honest with me about some of the things that she had done in her past. I was wrong. 3 years after she told me that story, she made a false allegation of abuse against me. Don't ever think that they're confessing. They're giving you a warning.
So now I'm 17, and instead of facing minor camp time or juvenile hall time, I was now facing 41 years to life in prison. They tacked on a kidnapping charge, which carries life in the state of California. And what was happening behind the scenes, what I would later find out, which the accuser admitted to on video, was that every time she would hear my side of the story, she would add more to her story because she didn't want to look like a liar, because it was getting so deep on her end that she had to keep pushing the story. So while I was sitting in jail, I was in jail for 1 count of rape. Next thing you know, it was 2 counts of rape. Next thing you know, it was 3 counts of rape. Next thing you know, it was 3 counts of rape. And next thing you know, it was 3 counts of me and kidnapping. Now I'm facing 41 years to life. These charges just continue to stack up. And I had no clue. My mom had no clue. We didn't know how this was happening until years later, finding out how that all went down.
This is not an easy video for me to make because it brings me back to a very dark place in my life. But this is the reality of when a woman creates false allegations and lies to take advantage of a man in court, to take advantage of a man in family court. But the truth is, we don't think about what this truly does to a man. When the woman he loves creates false allegations and lies so that she can take everything from him, his kids, his money, his job, his freedom, self-worth. We don't think about what that does to a man mentally. And that's where the real injustice is. What it does to a man's mind, what it does to his mental health, what it does to his psyche. That's the real injustice, because that's what kills men. I want to tell you my story because I want to make it real. I want to make sure you understand what it does from firsthand experience. So just a little backstory. My ex-wife and her family created false allegations against me. They created a narrative that I was mentally unstable and that I was dangerous so that they could take advantage of me in the divorce, so that my ex-wife could basically take everything from me and have zero recourse. Because creating false allegations and lies means that the courts and the justice system are on her side, and that basically handcuffs me from any type of recourse of trying to get my things back or trying to make peace or trying to talk things out, because she didn't want to do that. She wanted to take everything and leave me here and run away from the situation completely. And the easiest way to run away from the situation completely is to create false allegations and lies so the protective orders can go into place, so that you go to jail, so that you have to deal with fines, you have to deal with lawyer fees, so you have to deal with all of these things that do not allow you to actually put your life back together and move on. So in my marriage, I went through quite a bit of abuse, a lot of controlling, she always had to be right. My opinion didn't matter. What I wanted out of life didn't matter. It was all about her. And it broke me down, along with things that I was dealing with in my job, things that dealing with in the world. It put me in a very dark place because I felt like I didn't matter anymore, that my opinion didn't matter, what I had to say didn't matter. And so it backed me into a corner and I went into a depression. When my wife divorced me, she took full advantage of my mental state and my depression, which allowed her to take everything from me. And when the fog started to lift and I started to realize exactly what was going on, that's when her family created the false allegations and the lies. And what happened because of those false allegations and lies is I spent over 2 months in jail. I became a felon. I was put on house arrest. I now have to wear an ankle monitor. I'm not allowed to travel, I'm not allowed to vote, I'm not allowed to own a pew-pew. I'm basically not allowed to do anything. I can no longer work in an industry that I spent 20 years building a reputation and a career. Because of these false allegations, my entire life was set on fire. Just because my ex-wife wanted to take our home, which had a lot of equity in it, take my own personal property, take my dogs. And she wanted to make sure that I couldn't put my life back together so that no other woman would ever want me again. And that's the reality of it. What did it do to me mentally? While I was in jail multiple times over about a 2-month period, I was physically assaulted in jail by multiple men. I was abused by the justice system and told that basically I didn't matter and my opinion didn't matter. My lawyer was zero help even though I paid them well over $6,000. They said there was nothing they could do. Mentally, it broke me. I couldn't work, couldn't focus on anything. I was depressed, went through a lot of times where I didn't want to live anymore because I was backed in such a bad corner that I could not get my life back together. I could not move forward. She made the world believe that I was crazy, which made me believe that I was crazy. My PTSD from the whole situation is so bad that if I hear noises outside, I hear banging, I hear just normal things, then my anxiety goes through the roof and I have to meditate. I have to journal. I have to go through an entire process to bring myself to the present. I'm scared to leave my motel room at times. When I had an apartment, I was scared to leave the apartment. Anytime anybody knocked on my door, I was terrified. Because at one time I had the cops kick in my door. There's so many things that I could say that it's done to my mental health that's embarrassing. Because of a few lies, because of the false allegations, I lost everything. I lost myself for a while. I isolate from the world because I'm scared of the world. And that's the reality of it. It's hard for me to truly explain to you what I've gone through, but the key here is that when someone decides to create false allegations because they want to be greedy, it really messes people up and it really messes men up. And that's why the suicide rate for men is so high, because of lies, because of false allegations, because it puts men in a place where they believe they're crazy and the entire world believes they're crazy because that's what their ex-wife wants everyone to believe.
In a lot of situations, through no fault of their own, women just have no clue what the male experience is. They could have came from a single mother household, not had no brothers. You never know what the situation is. They may have just never thought about it. But a lot of times, once they have that male son and he starts to get older, the light bulb comes on and they're like, my son is screwed.
Blake Lively seems to think that she should be dismissed from Baldoni's lawsuit against her because what she said wasn't untrue, it just lacked context. My guy, that is why there's a lawsuit against you. As a mother of a young boy, this is what terrifies me about this whole Me Too, modern feminist, believe all women bullshit. Because for one, we'll never support it. For two, at any point in time, a woman can sit there and say, he did this to me, he did that to me, because she either feels rejected or she regrets it.
Some of you might know this, some of you don't. I have two children that are the same age. I have a boy and a girl that are 22. My fears for them growing up in high school were very different. And as young adults were very, very different. My fear for my daughter was that she would be a victim of SA. My fear for my son is that he would someday be falsely accused of SA. Because that's what I see every day in my job. I see a lot of young women who are in relationships, have boyfriends, go out to parties, have a drink or two, lower their inhibitions, go after that boy they think is cute, and then somebody tells on them, they have a falling out with their best friend who tells their boyfriend they're going to get caught as a cheater, and so they're like, oh my gosh, what can I do? Oh, well, he made me do it. Or I was so drunk I didn't know what I was doing. I can't tell you how many cases I have litigated like that. And I don't like to litigate those cases, but I have to. It's very uncomfortable for me. It's uncomfortable for the accuser. It's absolutely uncomfortable for everybody involved. But I'll tell you who it's the most uncomfortable for if it's a false allegation, and that's the young man who is looking at losing his freedom, his career, his literal entire life over a false allegation. I used to tell my son, like, you know, if you're ever at a party and a girl's had one drink, just walk away. Just walk away. Because all it takes is one allegation to ruin your whole life, whether it's true or not. If you've ever been investigated for SA, that's enough. It sullies your record, even if you didn't do anything. I never really knew if he listened to me, but recently we had a candid conversation and he said, yep, I remember a few times being at parties and girls would like try to holler at me, and I was like, nah, you had a drink? No, call me when you're sober. And I just, you know, you never know if your kids are listening, right? Because we try to impart all the advice into them that we can, and we hope that they listen. But we always really wonder, you know, do they listen? But he did. Thankfully, he did.
Getting hit with a false accusation by somebody that you know is one thing. But imagine getting hit with a false accusation by a total stranger.
Tonight, I spoke with the attorney who represents the man who was accused of attempted kidnapping in this grocery store parking lot. That attorney tells me that woman's story never added up and that the update in this case is better late than never. 41-year-old Daniel Pearson is home with his family tonight, out of jail after the Bucks County DA says he was wrongly accused of attempted and kidnapping. This is the woman who accused him of those crimes, 20-year-old Angela Yurimova. Police in Middletown Township said Yurimova called them on the night of April 16th, claiming a man grabbed her in the parking lot of the Redners off Lincoln Highway and attempted to pull her pants down while he carried and pulled her back toward his truck. Yurimova said she was able to break free and that he drove away. Police used a license plate reader system that spotted a similar truck nearby. They tracked it to Pearson, and he was held at the Bucks County Correctional Facility on $1 million bail. A new complaint now states Daniel Pearson was charged with multiple felony offenses and remained incarcerated for a total of 31 days before Yurimova admitted to her lies. The complaint states that shortly after his arrest, officials received information from Pearson's family that warranted further investigation. So detectives reviewed surveillance video and found at no point in the video did Pearson's truck travel through any part of the path Yurimova claimed the vehicle took. Yurimova was called to the DA's office for questioning last Thursday, and because of more inconsistencies in her story, she was called back in on Friday. That's when the complaint states Yurimova admitted that she had lied about the entire incident and that no assault occurred. Yurimova said she had seen Pearson and his truck before in the parking lot of her old job and that he was, quote, creepy.
Surveillance video from inside the Ackworth Walmart shows Patel walk in last month.
Shopping for Tylenol for his elderly mother.
As he walks the aisles, video shows him cross paths with this woman in a motorized wheelchair with a baby in her arms and a little girl under her feet.
She's pointing to where the Tylenol is.
Patel's back is to the camera, but as the chair moves forward, he appears to lean in. That's when the mother says he picked up her son. She did not respond to requests to comment on the new video, but told us last month
he pulled him, I pulled him back. We're tug-of-warring.
And this video is very clear that that did not happen.
She says her client thought the kid was going to fall, so he was helping her readjust. Video shows him back up. She points to something, and he moves in that direction.
If you're in Walmart and you see someone in need, you're just going to have to let them fall, apparently. You're just going to have to let them, whatever happens, happens. We can no longer help handicapped people is what this is saying.
The mom says she doesn't need the wheelchair, but her kids wanted to ride it. She has trouble driving it, backed into shelves, and appears to run over her child's foot with it.
This man even jumped to help the child when the child fell. That's what people do.
While that's happening, an employee helps Patel find the Tylenol. He holds it up as he talks to the mom on his way to the checkout counter.
He's not fleeing, as the police have said. He's not fleeing. He's using his debit card. He's talking with an employee here, paying for it in his own name.
He stops to talk to a worker before leaving, and police arrested Patel days later. Last week, a grand jury indicted him for attempted kidnapping, assault, and battery. He's been in jail nearly a month now. His attorney plans to ask for bond in 3 weeks.
This bell was rung. Once that bell is rung, it's really hard to unring it. It's really hard to get that back and get him a bond.
It's a cold world out here, man. It's pretty much if you a man, if your number get called, it's nothing you can do about it but hope time sorts it out in your favor. Hope that is some type of video evidence or some type of evidence to clear you, because it's the he say, she say, she's going to win. And that's just the way it is. And we all know that. And since we all know that, some people have gotten so comfortable with it that they have just simply abused it. And they're not even shameful about it.
When I date a guy on my dating ages, when I date a guy, it wasn't out of love. It was out of revenge of what happened to me. I will date you today after 2 weeks when we sleep together. Tomorrow go like case I get happy. Tomorrow go like case and mind you will be arrested. I did that to several guys.
And I think right now a lot of men are frustrated because it's like we feel your pain when it comes to the helplessness, when it comes to the grape and this, that, and the other. So anytime you bring that up, we make sure we try to be as supportive as we can possibly be. But then when this comes up, because theoretically we are just as hopeless and just as defenseless as you are in that situation. And it's just like it's no care, no concern. A lot of times when it's brought up to some people, this is the response.
Feminism, am I right? I mean, false accusations ruin lives. If that's true, then how come out of 1,000 sexual abuse cases, 995 of the perpetrators still walk free to this day? Now, that may not mean much to you, but let me ask you this. If you work for emergency services and you get a call in for an attempted murder, is the first thing you do go question the victim and say, was there anything you could have done to prevent the attempt? Are you sure they tried to murder you? No. You go arrest the accused murderer as they could be a murderer. So, why is your first thought when someone comes through as a rape survivor that they're lying?
Do you notice it's this weird trend like two things can't be correct and they can't stay on topic? Yes, SA is terrible, but you can also say accusing somebody of SA and they didn't do it is terrible also. I don't see what's so hard about that. Why we gotta keep deflecting to everything else in the room? Yes, those things are horrible.
There are genuinely men on this app who believe it is worse to be falsely accused than it is to be sexually. That is the level of delusion that we're working with. Being the victim of a violent crime is nowhere near the same as being lied about. And this rhetoric is the consequence of men continuously pushing the false narrative that a false accusation regularly ruins a person's life. Because we now have men running around this app saying that they'd rather be great than falsely accused. Not only is that one of the most delusional takes on TikTok I've ever heard, but it's also incredibly disrespectful to victims to just minimize their experience to being as bad as having to be lied about. To me, it truly solidifies how men don't understand how harmful is. I saw a lot of comments on my recent post talking about how this take should be universal and it should just be universally known as a fact that it is worse to go through a than to be lied about, but the comment section on my video proves otherwise. If you want to go traumatize yourself by reading what incels truly think about women, go check out my recent videos' comment sections. And this is why I advocate for female victims so hard. It's because men don't get it. So prepare to be sick of me because I'm not going anywhere until the incels can fix their fucking problems. See you in the next incel eater video.
I think she was trying so hard to make a man her enemy that she missed the whole point of that whole comment. It's funny how they could see nuance when it comes to the bear in the woods and all this other stuff, but they couldn't see the nuance in that whole remark. If you a good man, you would rather go through anything than the world look at you as a bad man, yet alone the worst man in the world. Now, if it was me, I would have found the example without grape in the description, but it is what it is. Ask yourself, instead of immediately going on the defense, ask yourself, why would a man make that statement? Why would he rather be hurt? Why would he rather actually go through some physical trauma than just have some words said about him? Because character and what the world thinks about you is everything to a real man, to a man that actually has tried to live his life right. That's the last thing that you would want to be labeled. Some people would rather die than be labeled that.
I recently covered a horrible tragedy where a young man lost his life due to false allegations. We can never bring back Inquisitor 3, but we still have time to save Good Time Charlie. Meet Stacia Randall. Stacia acquired marginal fame when she was on the Travel Channel's show Ghost Adventures, and apparently found that she was so good at making presentations of things that weren't actually there that she decided to get into the false allegations business next. And this is Good Time Charlie. Not famous, just a simple dude vibing. He and Stacia dated until he told her that he didn't want to be exclusive with her. Cut to March of 2023, when Stacia began sending out these screenshots to all of Good Time Charlie's friends, family members, and even the Ray County Sheriff. What they appear to show is a conversation where Good Time Charlie is trying to coax an unknown, untraceable 15-year-old girl to live out on his farm, which is very damning. Stacia used these screenshots and more to convince others that the farm Charlie lived on was actually a cult and that these girls were in danger. The backlash was quick and severe. Before long, the public had begun posting Charlie's 9-year-old daughter's full name and making threats against his life. And this was a big problem because Charlie didn't write those messages, and there was no 15-year-old girl. Desperate to figure out why his life was falling apart and clear his name, Charlie made this very important observation on his Meta accounts. While he was signed in Wichita, Kansas, someone else had signed in from Moundsville, West Virginia. If you're not the most geographically adept, it's quite the distance away. And it also happened to be the location of Stacia Randall. So while Charlie's family is put in danger and his reputation is being burned to the ground, he starts working with the police. This is the official closed incident report. And in this report, it is established that the IP address from the account that was used by the alleged 15-year-old to message Charlie is the same IP address of Stacia Randall. Ray County Sheriff writes, due to the short amount of time the victim's account was open, just long enough for the chats, and the IP address returning to an area where the suspect's ex-girlfriend is currently believed to be located, I am requesting this case closed. The Ray County Sheriff has reached out to Stacia multiple times and she remains too cowardly to answer. We now know that Stacia Randall created false evidence to try to end Good Time Charlie's life, which we now know may very well have worked. So where is she now? Surely with all this evidence she is behind bars, doing community service, paying some kind of debt or condolence to society. No, she gets to keep running a popular TikTok account where she has almost 1 million followers and monetizes off of bragging about being a terrible person.
And not only do I not care if you think I'm a bitch, I hugely prefer it.
TikTok, you made the right decision when you banned Tito for what he did to Inquisitor 3. Ban Stacia. To this day, she still has videos up on her platform making insinuations about Charlie, who is an innocent man. Her words are not just petty and annoying, they're violent and dangerous, and she needs to be shut up before she does this to anyone else. The story is not getting the coverage it needs, so thank you so much for listening. Justice for Charlie.
It can get real sad, man. This can take you to a dark place. I don't think anybody really thinks about the trauma that comes along with experiencing something like this and living through it.
Something that not a lot of people talk about is the trauma and the PTSD that comes with dealing with false allegations in divorce or in child custody cases, or just false allegations, period. Not a lot of people talk about it because it's not easy to talk about. It's not easy to express what you've gone through and to relive those moments. Because if you've had lies, false allegations put against you in the courts, it'll put you in a dark place to think about it. Because you don't have control over your life. You don't have control over what's about to happen to you. You don't have control over anything. Because a lot of times, especially for men, when false allegations are made against us in family court, no one believes us. No one wants to hear our side of the story, and it doesn't matter what evidence we have. I deal with PTSD every day, every single day, because of what I've gone through. The mental prison that I'm in a lot of times is nothing that I can explain to someone unless you've been in that situation. False allegations that have been put against me have not only set my entire life on fire when it comes to my finances, what I'm able to do, where I live, where I go, but the mental prison that it has put me in is something that most will never understand. It'll make you feel like you're crazy. It'll make you feel like you don't have any reason to live anymore. It'll make you believe things that aren't true because people have taken such advantage of you that you can't trust anyone anymore. I worked really hard to overcome this and to try to do something good with everything that I've been through, but the truth is, it's something that's going to stick with me for the rest of my life. Because the situation isn't over. And it sucks. And it really sucks because a few sentences by someone has taken away everything I've worked for 40 years. Everything. A few sentences by someone has backed me into a corner that is almost impossible to get out of. And it was all done because of greed, ego, pride, and unhealed trauma. But I can't go to the courts and express that because they don't care. So if you're dealing with PTSD, if you're dealing with trauma from false allegations, I understand. And if you need help with that, I'll do my best to help you with it, because I've learned how to overcome parts of it, but it's still there. There's nothing I can do about it. And it's gonna be there for a long time.
If you want to be honest about it, it destroys the men, but it also destroys women just as much as it destroys the men.
Okay, so she clearly doesn't care how it affects men. Let's talk about how it affects women and everybody else. You realize when you make false accusations like this, it affects women too. It affects anyone who is a victim of this because they're less likely to be believed. Not only that, when men are victims of being accused of this, it rips families apart because there's a good chance he's going to be arrested for it, and that damages families.
Liars would never be no good for society, and liars that are so low that they're willing to use somebody's worst personal experience ever for their personal bargaining chip to manipulate a situation, and that's being okayed by some people just because the victim is a man. Like, come on, what are we doing out there? Do you know how much that hurts actual victims of these situations? Do you know how that makes them have to explain themselves 2 or 3 more times because so many people been out here caught? We got to start thinking and stop just having blind hate for each other because you think that you're an advocate, but in a lot of ways, you're actually hurting women with those thoughts and those ideas. But anyway, man, we got to start holding everybody accountable. Male, female, black, white, whatever, man. If you wrong, you got to get called out and you got to get held accountable for it. But a lot of people ask, if you're a victim of this type situation and you are found correct, can you sue for it? Is there any type recourse for this type situation?
If someone falsely accuses you of a crime, can you sue them? Yes, you can sue someone if they falsely accuse you of a crime. If the false accusation was spoken, it's called slander. If it was written, it's called libel. To win, you need to prove that the accusation was false, made with bad intent or reckless, and caused you harm, like damaging your reputation or causing emotional distress. In limited circumstances, you may even be able to sue the government for malicious prosecution if the government started a criminal case against you without good reason or evidence, and if the case was decided in your favor. What you need to do is identify evidence that supports your claim. If you've been falsely accused of a crime, avoiding criminal prosecution does not have to be the end. You have rights and the opportunity to seek recourse for the harm that you suffered. It's important you speak with an experienced attorney that can answer your questions and lay out for you whether you have a chance to win a case for defamation.
There it is, y'all, false accusations. To be clear, on the outro, this video was about people that made false accusations. This video was about the liars, the scammers, the people that was using other people's worst day of their life, worst day of their existence to manipulate situations. That's what this video was about. So I don't want to hear nobody in the comments section trying to flip and change the narrative to this video. This video was about liars. It wasn't about women. It was about liars. So let's stay on topic. Let's get in the comment section. Let's bust it up. Let's stay on point. Let's not be like the haters in the middle of the video and try to hijack the conversation. Let's keep it on these liars out here destroying these men's lives. And like every other video, hit me up in the comment section and tell me how y'all feel about this one.
Tell me how you felt about what just happened there.
And if you done made it to this point in the video, you are my MVP.
It was a stone groove, my man.
I'm out of here.